Welcome to another edition of Pod Jerky. I'm your host, Direktor Awesome. And of course, I'm joined by my lovely wife, Mrs. Awesome. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello.
And today we're going to do a brief episode. It's not going to be very long. We're going to talk about the Tinder Swindler. We decided to jump on the train and have a watch of this train wreck of a Netflix series. What are your
documentary.
Yeah. What are your first thoughts on this series? On this show, actually, not series.
So it started off kind of slow for me until you really got into sort of what it was that he was doing and how, his story of sort of how this extravagant lifestyle that he was leading. So until it got into that part, it was a little slow for probably about the first half hour. And then they really just kind of turned it on and you were kind of hooked watching the rest of it just to see kind of how it all came together.
Yeah, I mean, for those who are listening right now, this is a little bit of a spoiler. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that went on in the show. So if you haven't watched it and don't want to know, I'm not saying to tune out, but there are spoilers in this episode. So we basically start off with this guy, Simon Leviev or Leviev, however you pronounce it. He's an Israeli citizen, and he meets all of these women on Tinder. He has a Tinder profile. These women from, I guess the ones that they were interviewing were Norwegian, I believe.
Yeah, they were from all over Europe.
Right. So the ones that were actually in the documentary, I believe, were from Norway.
Yeah.
And they start off by interviewing one of them, and they go about this whole story of, I'm looking to find love, and I was looking online and I went through Tinder and we saw this guy's profile, and his profile was extravagant. Now, the first picture that we saw on this documentary was of Simon with his parents, in quotations there. And his parents, he would say, are the richest diamond miners in the world.
Yeah.
So he had put himself into a photo with these people, and the first thing I said, that photo is photoshopped.
I did say that.
I said it right off the bat. I said that photo is photoshopped. I said even just looking at it now, I don't know if that's my eye now because of all the editing work that I do, that I actually realized that was a photoshopped picture, or if it just looked that like obvious to everybody. But by me looking at that photo, I saw that it was photoshopped.
But anyway, what I will say is it was on our big screen TV versus a little like 3x3 photo on your phone.
Right.
The average person probably wouldn't have seen it.
Right. So I think I would have still picked up on it if it was on my phone or whatever it was, because I'm just used to that editing portion of it now. But it goes into this whole story of how he has all these like cars and gone on all these trips, and that he's like very, very, very wealthy.
Yes.
And these girls say,
he's the son of a diamond miner.
Right. And, these girls look into his profile. They say he's very attractive, and they, swipe right or whatever it is that you do on Tinder. It makes it a match, and they start to talk. Now they get to talking and, do their thing, whatever. And they eventually actually meet up with each other.
Like relatively quickly.
And
it's always at a really fancy hotel, and it's typically just for coffee for like an hour.
Right.
He's always on the move on to the next city. And so the initial meetup is always generally pretty quick and always at an extravagant location.
Yes. And the reason that he has to leave all the time is for business. So he's traveling to Germany, he's traveling to Belgium, he's traveling over to like all these different countries for all these business deals that he has to do. So he's got a bodyguard. Peter is the name of his bodyguard, Piotr, in that language there. And he shows like, here's my bodyguard. This guy's a massive human being. He's a really, really big guy. So you believe the story of, yes, he's got a bodyguard. He also has a business partner that, you don't meet at all. You just hear about him. So I guess he's doing other business dealings around the way. So, there's this whole story that's built up of who he is and what he's doing and why he's wealthy and all that. So the girls start to believe the whole story.
But it's not even that I think the piece that maybe we're not explaining is he lives up to the story he's built.
Right.
He takes these people, these girls, on these extravagant trips, and they meet in extravagant locations, and they join him in his extravagant lifestyle.
Right.
And so they clearly believed that this is who he was. He firsthand showed them the type of lifestyle he was living.
Exactly. But we find out later on why this is happening, and kind of blows your mind. But we had kind of different takes on the end of it.
Yeah.
And we had different opinions on it. And before we did this episode, Mrs. Awesome and I were talking, and Mrs. Awesome actually said that I'm going to come off like a jerk in this episode. So we will find out after we're done.
Just because we have opposing views on this.
But we'll find out at the end of the episode if I sound like a jerk or not. I actually talked to somebody else about this today, and they agreed with my stance. But
they didn't hear my side.
They haven't heard your side yet. So we're going to kind of give it away now on what actually happens, without getting too much into it, because we do want you to watch the documentary. But
regardless of what we say, it's an entertaining 2 hours.
Yes, it is,
to say the least.
Now, we come to find out at the end of the documentary that he's actually been swindling, hence the Tinder Swindler, all of these women, and he had been arrested in Finland 3 years prior to, I guess, him meeting these newer women that he's met, and he swindled them out of a bunch of money as well. We're talking millions of dollars. So we're not talking about $100 here and $100 there. Yeah. We're talking about thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, and all this. So what his whole plan is he would meet one girl, he'd get them to give them money, and then he'd get on to the next girl by using that person's money, and so on and so on. So they kind of compared it to like a Ponzi scheme, where it was just, one after the other, and it would just pay for the next one in line. Which was to me was really interesting, because I was like, that thought would never, ever, ever cross my mind to do something like that to another human being. But I did say, the guy was incredibly intelligent to be able to get away with this, because at the end of the day, you have to think about,
he built a lifestyle that he could prove,
right,
and built an extravagant storyline that for the average person who you're meeting would probably believe, because he put his money where his mouth was. And I think that's the piece that I think why these people fell for this is, it's not like he was saying it but not showing it. He was saying it and showing it. And I think that's where, when you think you care about somebody, you tend to believe them when they tell you this stuff.
So this is where yours and I opinion actually goes in opposite directions, because you would say to everybody, okay, these women are victims of this fraudster. And on my end, what I think, and this is where I'm going to come off as a jerk, I think these women are idiots. I still think they're victims as well, but I think they're also stupid, because at the end of the day, if you look at it, okay, they're dating their boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is that their status is there. At the end of the day, if you look at it and they say, okay, I had to lend my boyfriend $10,000, and then the boyfriend says to her, I'm going to pay you back on Monday. And then by Monday, no money comes, but I need another $20,000. And then you go and you take out a loan for $20,000. Now the payment's supposed to come in by Wednesday. Okay. The payment doesn't come in by Wednesday. Oh, I need another $50,000 because people are after me. The bank froze my accounts, blah, blah, blah. The whole saying is, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. It's just, that's your fault. That is your fault. And I don't believe that you are very smart in your decision-making at that point.
So I think that and it's not that I just think that they're victims. It's the viewpoint. Maybe it's because I'm a girl, and sometimes we have a tendency to lead with our heart over our head. At least in most cases I do. The piece is that he brings these women in, he shows them this extravagant lifestyle, but then he also shows them a ton of love and attention and affection, and they build a bond really quickly. Now, whatever that might be, some may say that was too fast to have fallen so hard for somebody, but when someone is like that with you, you have a tendency to find or have empathy for them when they're in a difficult situation. And he created such an extravagant storyline. He's, a diamond dealer. He had all the documentation, he had built this elaborate lifestyle. So if you Googled him, and this was the whole point of the story, is if you Googled anything he said to you, you could find information. And so it's not like these women thought that they were being lied to. They really, truly believed everything he said, because you could literally Google it today and probably find the same information. And so, when he says, I live in a dangerous industry, I deal with some shady people. And when the person that you care about so much calls you and says, I'm in trouble, and then here's the kicker, he shows proof of the fact that they're in trouble. What you've come to realize towards the end of the documentary is it is also all fabricated. Like, everything he tells you is fabricated, but he's putting proof in front of these people, right? Like photos of them getting beaten up in the back of an ambulance and all these pieces. And then he's saying, I need money, I need help, I need to be able to get out, I can't use my credit cards, they can find me. I mean, like, technology, Christ, you can find anybody on a phone if you really wanted to. So he's just so intelligent enough to have built and has all the proof in the world. And so frankly, if some guy whom I'm dating is calling me in that situation, and you've built a relationship with each other, and he's calling and saying, hey, I'm in trouble, I need money, I don't think that the average person would be like, I'm not going to not help you.
No.
And so this is where I think you and I differ now.
No,
where I do agree with you is the volume of money. And then the one girl, the story and the things that he did to allow her to get the credit that put her in the debt that she got into. Like, those were some serious red flags that she clearly didn't see, that I think you and I both agree on, that were serious red flags that would be like, whoa, okay, at that point, this doesn't feel right.
Right.
And she followed through with it. And I think that this is where you and I have a bit of a different opinion. Like, if someone were to call and ask for that and you care about them deeply, the likelihood is you're probably going to do what you need to do to help them.
Yes. But okay, so the logical part of my brain would be thinking at first, all he kept saying is, my enemies are after me. The logical point of my brain would be asking, who are your enemies? I need to know this stuff. I'm your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever it is, for the certain situation that you're in. You need to tell me who these people are, what's happening, this and that. The second part that the logic would still kick in on my own end is because a lot of people, when we talk about the vaccines, is a lot of people say that these vaccines are tracker chips and whatever. Guess what? So is your cell phone. Your cell phone, you can trace wherever. You said it just 5 minutes ago.
A little off track.
Hold on. The cell phones are tracker chips. Like, exactly. They can find,
you can find anybody.
You can find anybody you want in the world on your cell phone. Now, this guy was texting and calling and all this stuff from his cell phone. So why wouldn't you put two together and say, well, if they froze my credit cards, they can still find me on my phone.
Right.
So that was the logical part of my brain thinking that
didn't
way.
Didn't he say he had burner phones when he was calling them or something?
He had some burner phones, but it was still coming up as, his number and all, and his name and all that. So that was the logical part of my brain that was thinking that. Now, not saying that they're not victims, because yes, they absolutely got scammed. But again, the amount of money that they were giving out and the amount of times that they gave the money was a little bit ridiculous for me to not say, you know what, these women are not very bright in what they're doing. Now, we didn't get his side of the story because we don't get to see him in the documentary because he refused, right?
Yeah, he opted not to reply to the
and he actually sent in something saying he was going to sue the documentary makers to make money. So this guy is just out there scamming for everything. Now, the end of the episode, you actually see, okay, he got played by one of the women he was dating. So he was dating a woman for 14 months.
Yeah, that's the crazy one.
And that's a long time. So she had figured out that he was dating somebody else, and doing the same thing to her that was being done to herself.
Well, someone warned her and said, go and read this article, right? Because the original two girls in the documentary went to a journalist and like a newspaper, pretty high up there, newspaper in Norway. And they kind of helped do all the research to figure out the backstory and everything, and to see if it was actually true. And it turns out it was probably a lot worse than they actually thought.
Yeah. So she ends up going to this newspaper, and they figure it out that this is the guy that was arrested in Finland. So they look up his picture. Yep, this is the guy. This is the same guy. So she starts off with trying to get money back from him. I mean, it's a little bit of money. It's not as much money. I don't remember exactly what her ploy was to get money, saying she needed money in order to get the loan or something like that, just to get it back. And she kept getting the money from him.
No, so he had come to her, I think, because of this whole newspaper ad and how everything was being frozen and he was out of money. And so she said to him, you know, because let's face it, he wore things like Versace and Gucci. And so his wardrobe alone was worth tens of thousands of dollars. And so she said, let me come meet you. I'll take your clothes. Because I think she worked in the industry.
She was working in fashion. Yes.
And she's like, I'll recoup your cash for you and I'll sell your clothes. And so she literally took his entire wardrobe and basically sold it on eBay.
And kept saying that I'm going to send you the money as soon as it comes in. And then he kept calling and saying, where's my money? Stop playing games with me. Stop playing games. And she recouped some of her money, which the player got played, which is great. I think, you know what, tit for tat there. That's at that time. It's fine. But you know,
but I mean, they were in a full-blown relationship. 14 months is no joke.
Well, what we thought was a full-blown relationship, you know, like he did sleep with these women. He did meet up with these women.
In her eyes, it was a committed relationship. They'd been together for 14 months.
So what happened? And I believe he met her parents. He met this one's parents as well.
Yeah.
But now what we've come to find out is the messages that he was sending each girl were exactly the same word for word. So it was almost like it was a computer program that was like actually sending these out. You know, it's either copy paste or he had a program set up. And
even the videos.
Yes, the videos were exactly the same. It was just the name would change. However, he had to have a spreadsheet that had to keep track of all of this stuff, because there's no way in anybody's mind that you could keep track of all of this and keep the right story. Because if you met a girl with the same name as another girl, eventually you're going to screw up. Eventually you're going to get caught. Now, once this was like out to the newspapers and it came out, you know, they framed this guy. They said, you know, we found out where this guy was going and he was arrested. But he was arrested on a fake passport. That's all it was. He
was arrested on a felony out of Israel originally.
Yes. And they were looking for him.
Yeah.
But they actually arrested him on a fake passport charge, and that was it. And he's already out of jail. He served 5 months of his sentence.
15 months he was originally sentenced to, and he served 5. Yeah. And he's back out. He's apparently back on
and he Tinder. Is back on Tinder. Now, we're hoping that enough people have seen it, that they don't go on Tinder and the same thing happens. However, there's probably people in this world that don't watch a lot of TV and don't read the news or go online a lot, except, you know, the dating apps, and, you know, that they're going to get played as well. And they're going to start paying this guy again. And the sad part is, you know, you can go in front of a court and they can hear the case, but at the end of the day, he did nothing wrong, really, in terms of law, because they gave the money to him.
Willingly
steal it from them. They willingly transferred it over to his account.
Now, the part that I don't understand how he didn't get charged was, or where the fraud doesn't come in, and maybe we just haven't heard all of the story, is with the first girl that you get introduced to in the documentary. Like, he created a fake business account for her, right? He gave her like a CEO status of the supposed company that he worked for, which obviously he didn't. That's the part I don't understand, how he didn't get charged, and then how that didn't build an actual case against how he swindled all this money. That's the only thing. And again, we don't know because he doesn't, he declines the interview, but I just feel like there's a part of the story that feels missing because these women are responsible to pay back all of this money. Right. And it's like $250,000 for one girl. And I think it's like 50 or 60 from another. And then I don't know about the one that he was in the long-term relationship. I don't remember what her total was, but I'm shocked he has not gotten fraud charges, but because of just the schemes and things that he's pulled.
Okay. So look at it this way. So I
don't know the laws in Europe. So who knows?
Right. But you and I are married. We've been married for, this year was our 10th. Our past
have you been swindling me?
So, but okay. So I'm gonna put it on you like this. When we just met.
Yeah. I don't want to play your game.
When we just met and we started dating.
Yeah.
Would you have given me $250,000 if I kept asking to borrow money and asking you to take out loans? Would you have done it?
I mean, after watching this, no. Well, listen, I didn't have $250,000.
Yes, but you could have gone to the bank to get loans like they did.
No, honey, I was not the greatest as far as my credit was when we met. So I would not have been able to get that.
Okay, let's say you were able to. Would you have given me $250,000 of money? Or would you have said, listen, you haven't paid back the first 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever it is. Yeah. If you pay that back, then maybe they'll build the trust there. And then, we'll get into maybe if you need more down the road, we can certainly talk about it. Or would you just keep on giving money?
But listen, you didn't fly me all over the world and treat me to extravagant vacations where I thought that this was a lifestyle that you needed to live. Like, it's a very different circumstance. Now, in our reality, if you had asked me for $1,000 or $2,000, I probably would have to help you out.
Right. So that's about $2,000, but I can't do much with that.
But that's in the realm of the reality that we were living. The reality that they were living was private jets and extravagant parties and yachts and all like crazy vacations. And like one of the girls was just friends. They never had a romantic connection. Like she ended up just becoming friends with him and he still swindled her and they were just friends.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel it's not a fair comparison because we certainly did not live an extravagant lifestyle. But
then put yourself in that position, in that girl's position where he was taking, extravagant trips and whatever. And then he just kept telling you, would there be a certain line that you would say, okay, I can't give you any more right now?
Yes.
Or would you say $250,000, here you go, like a little bit at a time? I wouldn't be able to do that. I would be able to say, you know what? This person, I'm not trusting this person enough because they keep on saying they're going to pay me back. They don't pay me back and then ask for more money. So again, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3, 4, 5 times. I'm the idiot here.
Yeah.
I'm the idiot for keeping it going. So yes, maybe I come off sounding like a jerk here, but that's just the way I think about it.
No. And listen, at some point there would have been a big red flag that would have went up for me that wouldn't have sat well. But it's not to say that not everybody thinks the same way, obviously, hence why the world is the way the world is. And so, whether it was, God, I don't know. It could be a million different things as to why they chose to do it. I would have probably caught on to the red flag a little bit sooner. But the piece that I think where he won them over was the fear. Right. He showed proof of violence. They're in the back of an ambulance. For all we know, it was probably a bar fight and somebody got a cut. But the story that he told and the fear that he instilled about the safety of his life and his bodyguard, like if his own bodyguard got beaten up, then what's the likelihood that something bad is going to happen? And if the fear is instilled for someone that you care about, your judgment in all likelihood is not going to be as clear as it would be if this was just like, hey, I need to buy a car. Will you loan me $40,000?
Correct.
So I think the piece where I think he convinced them that they were doing the right thing was because he created the sense of fear and he also created a sense of urgency. So this wasn't like, hey, can you loan me this? Let's chat. Like, when you watch it, you'll see like he's very adamant and very like he's got like a finger on them. Like he's created a sense of urgency, which in a lot of cases for a lot of people does not give you a lot of time to sit back and think rationally about what the ask is, right? Your adrenaline's probably going, he's in a different country, you don't really know what's happening. Like I said, he created a really elaborate, extravagant backstory.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that he didn't, but I have one question.
Sure.
Did they not have friends that sat there and talked through this and
they
said,
all admitted they did.
Are
all
you
admitted
doing?
They did.
Because
but listen, when you're supposedly in love with somebody, you get tunnel vision and you don't want to hear the reality that's coming at you from either side.
Because I know when I was younger, I did some stupid things.
Right. And because your friends have convinced you?
No. And my friends would say, what the hell are you doing? Sometimes I listened, sometimes I didn't.
Right.
But I knew the repercussions. I knew the repercussions of what I was doing. But I still decided.
But you still made some bad choices.
I still made some bad choices. However, I knew those bad choices were not going to affect me in the long term in terms of what these people are doing. And I know it's not the comparison, but I had my friends on that side. That's what I'm trying to get at.
But
is
maybe
did they not have their
weren't
friends?
even confiding in their friends because they realized how asinine it was to be sending him, you know, a $40,000 wire transfer. They probably didn't even think to tell their friends because they probably knew that they were going to get told. Right. So I think I just have a little bit more. I think that where our opinions differ is I have a little bit more sympathy for them.
You do. You have more. It's not that I don't have sympathy for them because I do feel bad on what happened to them. However, I don't feel bad in terms of how long they let it go and how much they gave to this guy without a red flag coming up. And that's where I think it was a little bit overdone on their end. In terms of how much money they're giving, because I ain't giving nobody $250,000 without seeing a penny of it back. It's just not going to happen. I mean, I think one of the women took a second mortgage out or something like that, had to borrow up against her house or something like that, just to get the money, just to give to this guy. And then he moves on to the next woman and spends the money on that woman that way. Right. So
I feel like there needs to be like a sequel to this because there were pieces of the story that they kind of dropped on you, but then you didn't get a ton of follow through on it as well. So there's still a lot of, and I get it, all documentaries are one-sided. This is clearly on behalf of the victim. But like there's pieces about one of the women that was on the plane when this girl first met him, who claims to be the mother of his child. I assume that's accurate. We don't really know. They don't really tell you otherwise. So you assume that this woman is in fact the mother of the child that's on, who is apparently Simon's kid, who they later find out was one of the victims from Finland. And she is very much still in the picture, but then they don't really elaborate anymore on that story. So you think like there's probably so much more that there is to this story that is not being told.
Well, my assumption is with her is that he's paying her off to be part of the story now, to try and get these women to start forking over the money, because she sits there and she says, oh, he's a great guy. He's this, he's that. I mean, really meanwhile, 3 years ago, you were in court testifying against him for doing the same thing to you. Now he's got to be on her, or she's got to be on his payroll. In order for this to be happening. Otherwise, why would she be doing that? Because is she creating fraud on this end now too? Because she went to court to testify against him when maybe something didn't really happen and she was like lying in court.
And God only knows if that really is his kid. Right. Because the way that it reads on the documentary is that is in fact his child.
And if it is, God help this world, because he's just raising somebody who's going to continue the tradition, I believe.
He has no ties to his family whatsoever. His mom has basically disowned him. Anyway, it's a great watch.
Yes. So yeah, definitely recommend to go and check that out. I know we said this was going to be a very, very short episode. However, it turned into a little bit longer of an episode, but that's okay. I mean, we had a good
combo.
Yeah, we had a good chat here about it. So definitely go and check out that documentary. It's called The Tinder Swindler, and you can check that out on Netflix. You have any final last words?
No, it was great. I enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, it was a really good one today. So of course, so we're going to end this episode, and hopefully you will go check out the documentary. And of course, you can always find us on Instagram and Twitter at Pod Jerky. You can also find us on our link tree. That's linktr.tree. Sorry, let me do that one again. You can find us on our link tree. That's linktr.ee/Pod Jerky. You can find us on our bite size. That's BYTESIZE.me/Pod Jerky. As always, stay safe, be kind to each other, and we will see you later.
Here we go now. Play that beat.
Pod Jerky.